of our Chief of Operations, Maria Clarissa O'Donnell. Kisa, do you want to say a few words?
Yes, thank you, Georgina, and Happy New Year to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I just hope that you're all doing fine, even as we continue to deal with the pandemic right now. So, for those of you whom I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Maria O'Donnell. I'm also known as Kisa by some, and I am the fund's Chief of Operations. As Georgina had said, we welcome you to the fifth training session of OCLU. The first four sessions were on participation-related topics such as the eligibility, the breaks in service, the CS purchase, HR interface, and I understand that you also had a session on contributions from the account section, which is really very timely given that we're in the year end. So today's topic is on the separation process. And I truly hope that you find this training sessions very useful. Our objective in doing this is to really build the capacity and collaboration with you, who we consider as our partners in the pension process. And I do believe the importance of investing in these training sessions because we need to get the pensions right. We need to make sure that we provide the right advice, because if we don't, the consequences of those wrong advice can be for life. So I think it is important that we are partners in this. We are here to support and collaborate with you. And I am actually very happy that we have this new team in place now, which is the OCLU under the leadership of Alyaman, and of course his team, Georgina, Wally, Edwin, etc. And that doesn't, however, mean that you cannot still continue dealing with your counterparts in the different areas of the fund, such as AFA2 in Geneva on pest matters, or Jill for legal matters, and Savannah for client services. But at least this is a forum that operations is now able to get in touch with you the same way as Dino and his team on IT related issues, etc. So with that said, I hope that you enjoy today's session. There's so much to cover, so I'm just going to hand it back to Georgina so that we can officially start the training. Thank you very much, Georgina.
Thank you, Kisa. Alyaman. Alyaman's also here. Do you want to say a few words before I start?
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Just quickly, we would like the session to be interactive, so please raise your hand if you have questions. We'll stop also within the presentation in between sessions to request questions. You can either raise your hand and ask your question, or you can type it in the chat. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you again. Thank you.
Okay. Again, welcome and Happy New Year to everyone. So, in today's session, we will be covering vesting period, benefit options, just an overview for now because we will be dealing with the details in the future trainings. We will also be discussing the separation process, the mandatory documents from participants and beneficiaries, the mandatory documents from the member organizations, and then now we will also be joined by the Chief of Records Management and Quality Control Unit, Edwin. He will be discussing the various document transmission options and the new feature in our MSS, which is the MSS upload or submission. And we will be also giving you just a brief introduction of a new technology that will be coming your way in the probably in a week or two, and that is the digital CE. So Right now, I just want to inform everyone about the term vesting. So vesting period in the fund is 5 years is required to be eligible for any retirement benefit. So we have 3 retirement benefits that requires the 5 years. We have Article 28, that is the normal retirement, and then Article 29, early retirement, and Article 30, deferred retirement. So Rule J5 in the fund's rules and regulations states the contributory service of a participant, which is used to determine eligibility for all benefits shall be calculated according to the actual years, months, and days comprised therein. Therefore, if you have 4 years, 11 months, and 25 days, you are not considered to be vested. There is no such thing as rounding of days, rounding of months for vesting purposes. So again, for vesting period, it has to be at least 5 years to be entitled to any of the retirement benefits. So moving on, we're going to be discussing an overview of the various benefit options available to participants and beneficiaries. So you've seen this slide in previous training, but however, I'd like to just give you an overview of the normal retirement age and early retirement age. So for normal retirement age, for those who entered the fund prior to January 1, 1990, your normal retirement age is 60. For those who entered on or after January 1, 1990, the retirement age is 62. For those on or after January 1, 2014, it is 65. So even if the organization changed the mandatory age to 65, it does not affect your normal retirement age for the fund's purposes. So what will happen here is for the fund, we look at your date of entry, not the 65 years that is approved by the member organization. So early retirement age follows the same date of entry, but it becomes 55 for those prior to 1990, on or after 1990. However, for those on or after January 1, 2014, the early retirement age is 58. So that's just an overview of the various retirement ages. So now we have the various benefit options. For participants, your benefit options can be Article 28, that's a retirement benefit when you have reached your normal retirement age. You have Article 29, early retirement age, those who have reached their early retirement age, 55 or 58. Article 30 would be your deferred retirement benefit for those who failed to reach the early retirement or normal retirement age, but you have a vested period of 5 years. So we have what we call Article 31. This is the withdrawal settlement. It's a one-time payment of benefits of your contribution plus interest. We have what we call disability benefit, Article 33. This is an awarded benefit for people who are deemed to be disabled. So we have what we call for the dependents. So again, this is just an overview. For the dependents, we have Article 34, 35, and that is a widow or widower's benefit. So if the main predeceases the spouse will be entitled to Article 34 for widow, Article 35 for widowers. For Article 35 bis, we have what we call the divorced surviving spouse's benefit. So even if you've divorced your spouse, there is still a probability that they may be entitled to a benefit in accordance to the regulations under 35 bis. So we have Article 35 ter. This will be marriage after separation. So if someone separated single or retired single and then they marry or remarry after the date of separation, they have an option to purchase what we call an annuity for their new spouse after the date of separation. So we have what we call Article 36. This is what we call child's benefit. So under the child's benefit, they can be entitled to a benefit whether it be a normal child, an orphan, so it will be under the child's benefit. So we have what we call Article 37. This is a secondary dependence benefit. This will be if you have no eligible dependent, but you have a secondary dependent. It could be a parent or it could be a child. Sorry, a parent or a sibling. So usually there is only one secondary dependence benefit. So here, now we will provide you with the details in terms of vesting period and the age when someone can be eligible for this type of benefit. So under the benefit option of Article 28, normal retirement age, the vesting period, you have to have at least 5 years of contributory service to become vested under normal retirement age, and you have reached your normal retirement age of 60, 62, 65, again, depending on your date of entry. So under the normal retirement age, you may have an option for a lump sum with periodic benefit or a periodic benefit without lump sum payable for life. So Article 29, early retirement, these are for people who have a vesting period of at least 5 years of service. And then they have reached the age of either 55, 58, but hasn't reached the age of NRA. So at any time, if for example, you're 57, but your early retirement age is 55, you may avail of the early retirement benefit of the fund. Same as Article 28, there is an option for you to receive a lump sum with monthly benefit or a monthly benefit for life. So we have what we call Article 30, deferred retirement. Under Article 30, deferred retirement, you still need the vesting period of 5 years. But for deferred retirement, you have failed to reach the normal retirement age. So for example, you've separated at the age of 45, but you have already the 5 years contributory service. You may elect a deferred retirement if in the event that you want a periodic benefit for life. So an Article 30 deferred benefit allows the fund to maintain your benefit with us, and then you may ask us to have it kick in at any age between early retirement to normal retirement age. So I think there is a question in the chat, so let me just look into the chat. Okay, I don't see any questions. Okay, so let me go back. So Article 31, withdrawal settlement. This is a one-time payment of your benefits. So at any time, as long as you haven't reached your normal retirement age, you may request the payment of a withdrawal settlement. A withdrawal settlement is your contribution plus interest. It is important to note that under the withdrawal settlement, there are no other benefits payable to you because this is a one-time payment of your benefit or your contribution plus interest. Under Article 32, deferment of choice, anyone has within 36 months to come back to the fund to make a decision. However, for Article 32, we request that payment instruction be submitted to us, electing Article 32 within 1 year. Otherwise, they are deemed to have elected Article 32. So Article 32 means that you haven't made your decision yet. You haven't made a decision as to what benefit and benefit option you are electing. So you have 36 months to keep your benefit with us in the fund and to make a decision as to what type of benefit option you would like to take. Article 33, disability. There is no vesting period for disability. You may be in the organization for 6 months, but unfortunately, you were deemed to be disabled. The fund will process it as a retirement benefit, or it will be assuming that you have reached your normal retirement age. Under the disability option, there is no lump sum. It is simply a periodic benefit that will be paid to you until you are deemed to be disabled or until your lifetime. So this is also paid at this eligibility for this is at any age because this benefit is awarded. Okay, so we have a question from Arturo. Could you please explain the exception of Article 40 for Art 31 when the participant had a first vested participation? Okay, so actually we have that in the other slide, but just to touch on, so for Article 31, anyone is eligible for Article 31 provided that they haven't reached the normal retirement age. However, for people who already retired and have already an ongoing periodic benefit with us or a retirement benefit, they are not there is no limitation for them in terms of withdrawal settlement. So once you have an Article 40 benefit, an Article 40 benefit means you already have a retirement benefit. So at one point, you've separated, you've retired, and then you're receiving a benefit, and then you re-enter the fund. So you're re-employed and you re-enter the fund. When you re-enter the fund, even if you only have 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, or even more than that, there is no limitation for the withdrawal settlement. We will be able to pay you the withdrawal settlement even if you've reached NRA under Article 40. Okay. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. So benefits to your survivors. Again, this is an overview to the various benefits to your survivors. So we have we have a question. What happens if someone dies while their pension is still in deferred status? Okay, so for deferred status, it depends if you have a survivor, right? So if you have a survivor and you're on deferred status, your survivor will still be eligible for a benefit. And for example, your deferred status is not in payment, the reduction rate will also be based depending on your age at the time of death. So, however, you have nothing to worry about because under deferred retirement, a spouse is still eligible for a benefit. However, just to inform everyone, under deferred, which is Article 30, there is no entitlement or benefit to a child. Okay, so moving on. So benefit for survivors. So Article 34, 35, this is the widower's benefit, widower's benefit. So under Article 34, 35, so how can your widow or widower be entitled to a benefit from the fund? Number one, there is an option under death after service. So any of us or any of the participants of the fund who die after service, meaning they are already in receipt of Article 30, 28, 29, 33, for these people who are already in receipt of a periodic benefit or a retirement benefit from the fund, and they die after service, their spouse, their widow or widower will be entitled to a benefit. And usually this is paid the first day of the following month after death of main. So the main is in receipt of a periodic benefit, and then when they die, when any participant dies, what will happen is the following month, the first day of the following month, the periodic benefit is entitled to the widow or widower. So under death in service, any participant dies in service, the widow or widower is entitled to the next day. So on your date of death, the following day, they are immediately entitled to a widow or widower's benefit. So let me just answer some questions. If you get married while you are on deferred, what about the status of the spouse? And then what happens if the separated staff does not contact the pension fund during the 36 months deferral period? So for what happens if the separated staff member does not contact the fund 36 months deferral period? So for the 36 months deferral period, if you fail to provide us with your payment instructions, there are two options for us. Number one, we have what we call JV or journal voucher. So JV or journal voucher means you have less than 5 years of service. You have less than 5 years of service, and then we simply calculate your future benefit. And once we calculate your future benefit, it stays with the fund until we hear back from the participant. Once we hear back from the participant, there are certain requirements that we ask for, and once we ask for it, once we receive the documents, we will process the benefit or payment of the JV benefit. For people who have 5 years or more of service, and they 5 years or more of service, and they failed to provide us with a payment instruction, their benefits are deemed they're considered to be deemed deferred. So meaning we process it like an Article 30. However, at any time again, they can request for the payment of this benefit. So this benefit can be paid either kick in as a deferred retirement, Article 30, or they may also have the option under Rule J2 of the fund for this benefit to be paid as a withdrawal settlement. Okay, so but one thing I'm touching it on the future training sessions, but one thing that is also important for everyone to know, if in case you fail to provide us with your payment instructions, the fund has what we call a forfeiture of benefit. So the forfeiture of benefit is usually it's about 5 years from the time of separation. So you have first 36 months from the date of separation to make a decision, another 2 years to request for the payment of your benefit. After 5 years in total, failing to request for the payment of benefit, your benefit is deemed to be forfeited. It is forfeited. So for forfeiture, I'll discuss later on, but there is also ways to request for the payment of our forfeited benefit. Okay, so let me continue. So here, 35 bis, divorce surviving spouses benefit. So the death after service, for 35 bis, this is divorced surviving spouses benefit. We have death after service, Article 30, 28, 29, 33. So for death in service, we also have the divorce surviving spouse. This benefit is paid prospectively following receipt of the request for the divorce surviving spouse's benefit. We will have a separate session for the divorce surviving spouse. However, there are criteria, and this benefit is not automatic. It goes through a legal process for legal to review in accordance to 35 bis. So there's a criteria involved in order to qualify for a divorce surviving spouse's benefit. Article 35 there, spouses married after separation. So spouses married after separation, obviously, because it's after separation, the only benefit for the main would be under death after service. And the main is in receipt of periodic benefit under 30, 28, 29, and 33. So it's the same. First day of the following month after death of main, provided that main purchase annuity for the spouse. Okay, so let me look at the questions. Can you change after separation from deferred to early? Okay, so for deferred to early, that is usually it wouldn't happen, because what will happen is on a deferred, you separated before reaching early retirement age. So once you already elected, however, if for example, okay, let me rephrase that. If for example, you separated at age 59, for example, you separated age 59 and you've reached your early retirement age. However, when you selected a benefit, you elected for deferred. And then you realize that, you should have opted for the early retirement. Under Rule J2, as long as the benefit is not yet in payment, you may request the change of your benefit as long as the benefit is not yet in payment. Okay. Thanks, Frederick. Okay, moving on to the next. Kisa?
Georgina,
Yes,
can I
Aliaman.
just a second, if I may?
Yes.
Because for Frederick, because I know the case that he's referring to, and there is a difference between a benefit that is elected. So if you elect, you can change your election, and a benefit that is deemed deferred. That means the staff member didn't elect, and they cannot change any election because there were not any. So just to refer to the case that WHO has had, which might have prompted the request from Frederick. Thank you.
Kisa.
Yes, Georgina, thank you. You actually forgot to respond to the question of if you are married while you're in deferred, what about the status of the spouse? So if I may just pick that up.
Okay.
If you actually get married while you're on deferred status, meaning either you have already elected a deferred retirement benefit or you have a deferment of choice, a point of the matter is that you're already separated. And therefore, if you get married after you have separated, basically the spouse is not recognized by the fund. So I hope that that's clear. Now, on the question on changing of a benefit election while you're in deferred, I think we don't really make a distinction between deemed deferred or an elected deferred, right? As long as the benefit has not yet commenced payment, normally under J2, a change to the benefit election is in fact allowed. But that is the key. The benefit has not started payment yet, right? Again, I hope that clarifies. Thank you.
Thank you, Kisa. Thank you, Aliaman. So now we're going to discuss the benefit for survivors.
Georgina, there is a hand raised from Arturo, from Enrique.
Unmute. Hi, Enrique. Arturo, can you please?
Yes, thank you, Georgina. I wanted to refer again to the question, and thank you for your reply. For me, it's clear that we apply Article 40 for a withdrawal settlement when the person has already reached his normal retirement age and he re-entered to the pension fund. But how about if he has a vested participation and then he re-entered before normal retirement age and he asked for a withdrawal? Can we pay as an Article 31 and ask him to complete the PENS E6, or should we apply Article 40 and ask to complete the PENS E8?
Enrique, could you clarify? Sorry, I was a bit confused with the question. So the participant already has a previous retirement benefit, right?
No, he has a first vested participation.
Okay.
Then the 3 years pass and he re-entered, but before the normal retirement age.
Okay.
And he has a short participation, less than 5 years, before reaching the normal retirement age, and he asked for a withdrawal.
Okay, so Arturo, since the person never retired, never received a benefit, so the first period is a vested period, was not in payment, 36 months break, or more than 36 months, that means we need to have a new pension number, right? So a new pension number for the new participation. Since the first benefit was not paid out, so that benefit, since it's vested, it depends whether the participant elected, because right now that 5 years cannot be restored, because that 5 years is basically deemed deferred because the participant failed to submit a payment instruction within 36 months. So that period cannot be restored under the new number, right? So the first period that is considered deemed deferred, so that is actually a retirement benefit. However, that deemed deferred period, the participant may elect to either have it paid as a deemed deferred retirement, which is considered a retirement benefit, then the second participation will be considered an Article 40, right? However, if the first benefit was changed to Rule J2, which is a withdrawal settlement, then that is not an Article 40.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the tricky part. The first period that you've mentioned, the participant is vested 5 years or more, but they failed to submit payment instruction within 36 months. So that first period is considered to be deemed deferred.
Yeah,
so a deferred benefit is a retirement.
Perfect, Georgina. But in this specific case, for the first participation, the participant elected a deferred retirement benefit. So she submitted the PI.
So if it was elected, then it is a retirement benefit, right? So the second pension number that is assigned for the re-entry will be considered an Article 40 benefit.
Okay. It will be an add-on or simply, how we call it?
So an add-on benefit is a PENS E8 for people with less than 5 years, and it's a PENS E7 for people with 5 years or more in terms of payment instructions.
So at that moment, she should submit the PENS E8. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. If the second one is a less than 5 years.
It's correct. It's less than 5.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much, Georgina.
Thank you, Enrique. So let me check the questions in the chat. If we have any more that I'm missing. Okay, so if a staff member chooses deferment at separation, then requests for a withdrawal later, then as an HR partner, I should advise the XSM to contact who or whose email address has to be given to the ex-staff member. Okay, if the staff member chooses deferment at separation, deferment means Article 32, then request for withdrawal settlement. So on Article 32, later on you'll see from the slides, there is a payment instruction that they need a page of the payment instruction PENS E6 or PENS E7 that they have to submit to us. When they want to change it to a withdrawal settlement, they simply submit to us the page 2 of an E6 or page 2 and 3 of an E7. I'll show it to you guys later on as we progress in the slides. And I also have all the contact information that you will need as you transmit the documents. So for Frederick, I am not too sure if after a deferred separation, a second, third participation can always be considered as Article 40, even at 51, and can lead to an add-on. So I think I've answered that through the question of Enrique. So once the first benefit is considered a retirement benefit, even if it's an Article 30 benefit, the second, the third are considered Article 40 benefits. Okay, so moving on. So this one, so this is the second page for the benefits for survivors. Enrique, do you have another question?
Georgina, there is a question from Savannah.
Okay.
If after being deemed deferred, can the beneficiary request to be paid and then request a restoration?
No. Once you've elected Article 30, you are not eligible to restore Article 30 benefit. Okay. Okay, so now we're moving on to the next. We have Article 36, that's a child's benefit. So when will a child's benefit be payable, right? So number one, the main should be in receipt of a retirement benefit that is Article 28, 29, and 33. As earlier discussed, there is no child's benefit under Article 30. So eligibility, age. So in terms of eligibility, Article 28, below age 21. So any child who is below age 21 at normal retirement age is entitled to a benefit. And this benefit will kick in the day following COB date. So that means it will be paid together with the entitlement of the main after the date of separation. Article 29, early retirement. The children who are eligible for a benefit under Article 29 are those that are below age 21 at normal retirement age. So these are the people who are the children that are below age 21 at normal retirement age. So Article 29 is paid to the child once main has reached NRA, the day following the main's NRA. So Article 33, below age 21. So for Article 33, any disability benefit, any child who reaches who's below 21 is entitled to a benefit. Okay, so I just want to discuss this further because I want to clarify that under Article 33, you are assumed to have reached your normal retirement age. So when we calculate your benefit under a disability, it is assumed that you've reached your normal retirement age. Therefore, your children below the age of 21 automatically will receive a benefit together with your entitlement the day following COB date. So for the child's benefit under Article 28 and 33, any child below the age of 21, the benefit kicks in immediately the day following your separation age. However, for Article 29, the benefit for these children will only kick in the day following you've reached your normal retirement age. So for Article 36B, this is a disabled child's benefit. The fund pays out a disabled child's benefit, but this benefit is awarded by the board. So under Article 28, 29, 33, whether it be a death after service or a death in service, this child's benefit is payable to your disabled child as long as they remain to be incapacitated or deemed to be disabled. So again, this is depending on a board approval. So usually when there's a disabled child, we don't immediately pay this out until we receive the approval from the board. So Article 36, child's benefit, for a death after service and death in service. So the first row tackled child's benefit for Article 28, 29, 33. The third row would be the death after service benefit for a child and a death in service for a child. So the death after service and death in service would be below age 21. So once you've separated, whether it be 28, 29, 33, and you die after service, your child becomes eligible for a benefit. For Article 28, 33, it would be the first day of the following month of the death. For death after service, Article 29, for main that did not reach NRA, it's the day following the death. For death in service, it's the day following your death or your COB date. So we have a question on the chat. When should the relevant documents for disabled child is recognized by which documents to be submitted? So we will have actually a separate training session for the entire disability benefit, and we will be informing you of the steps in that session. But for now, there's for the relevant document disabled child, I don't have it handy with me right now, but we will provide it during that training session. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next set of benefits for survivors. So we have Article 37, a secondary dependence benefit. So a secondary dependence benefit, you have a death after service and you have death in service. So for people who have no spouse, no children, and they've declared a secondary dependent, or a secondary dependent is in receipt of an allowance, it could be a parent or it could be a sibling. This is payable only when there is no surviving spouse or child, okay? And this is only paid to one one secondary dependence benefit. A parent is equivalent to a benefit of a spouse. A child, a sibling is equivalent to a benefit of a child. Therefore, a parent secondary benefit is paid for life, similar to a spouse. A secondary benefit payable to a sibling is equivalent to a child, which is up to the age of 21. So when is it payable? It's the first day of the following month after death of main for death after service. For death in service, it's the day following death. So for Article 38, residual benefit, there are two types of residual benefit. There is a death in service and a death after service. For a residual benefit, no other dependents are eligible for payment. Payment is paid to the person that you designate on your A2 form. That's why during the previous trainings, we've mentioned the importance of the A2 form to be submitted to us. Okay, so in the absence of the A2, this is payable to the estate. When payable, upon death of a participant. The second option would be the second death after service. It's the same thing. However, since it's a death after service, you were already perhaps in receipt of a payment or not in receipt of payment. So what will happen here is it's the remaining residual settlement owed. So your contribution plus your interest minus whatever was paid out to you, the remaining balance will be paid to your A2, or in the absence of the A2 would be to your estate. So I think we have another question on the chat. Article 37, payable in case of death after service, even if the participant had opted for Article 30, payable in case of death. Okay, so Alyaman's answering via chat. So okay, so now let's move on to the next. So this is the benefit options chart. So entry, re-entry to the fund before January 1, 1990 with CS 5 years or more. So for people who are less than 55 years old, you're only entitled to a withdrawal or a deferred retirement. Remember, this is for people who are vested. So 55 but less than 60, you are entitled to a withdrawal, a deferred retirement, and an early retirement. 60 and above, you've reached your normal retirement benefit or normal retirement age, therefore you can elect Article 28. Under the second one, which is for people who entered the fund January 1, 1990 to December 31, 2013 with CS of 5 years or more, less than 55, this will be your entitlement of benefit options, withdrawal or deferred. 55 but less than 62, it's withdrawal, deferred, and early. For 62 and above, it's normal retirement age. Okay, so entry, re-entry to the fund on or after January 1, 2014 with CS 5 years or more. So basically less than 58 years old, withdrawal and deferred. 58 but less than 65, it will be the, wait, something's covering my screen, sorry. We're admitting some, okay, but 65 or more, it will be your normal retirement age, normal benefit. Okay, I don't know why the screen is freezing, my apologies. But right now, just to explain to you, so less than 58, because people who entered January 1, 2014, it's withdrawal and deferred. 58 but less than 65. The thing that the option that is added would be the early retirement. 65 or more, it's normal retirement age. Okay, separation process. So this, in a separation process, we have three parties involved. We have the participant, the employing organization, and the fund. So this will give you more or less an idea of what happens in the entire separation process. So the participant ends the employment, and then the organization processes everything, a final payment, and then they submit the document to the fund, and the fund will process the benefit. Alyaman, will you be able to? Okay, so can you please clarify? Okay, so Alyaman's handling the questions in the chat so we can continue. So basis of quality control. So quality control, we have what we call CCAT, that's completeness. Submission should be complete. If you fail to submit all the documents from the organization, from the participant, the fund will not start the processing of the payment of benefit. clarity. Participants should be clear of the consequences of choice, and their choice should be clearly expressed for the funds processing. So that means the participant should understand that once they've elected a benefit, there are consequences involved. Once a benefit has been is already in payment, they cannot change their decision once the benefit is already in payment. So choice and banking instruction should be accurate and meet payment remittance requirements. So in terms of accuracy, it's very important for us to remit the payment to the right person and to the correct banking institution. Timeliness, documents should be received on a timely basis. So basically, we just captured here all the documents that you will need to submit once a participant is single with no children, single with children, married and divorced, no children, and with children. So I will be providing this training material to everybody so that they can use this as guide. The red ones are mandatory. The black ones are considered additional proof that will assist us in processing your benefit. So mandatory documents, actions from staff member participant. So these are the elements of a separation. For a staff member or participant, you have the employee demographics, the estimate, the payment instruction, and the legal documents. So a staff member or participant, the responsibilities are, you have UNJSPF participants must ensure that their personal data as reported by the employing organization is correct. So usually, before you even separate, you have to look at your personal information in your respective personal action form or access your member self-service and look at your annual statement. Because sometimes when we see discrepancies in names, discrepancies in date of birth, this will delay the processing of benefit because we need to ensure and do our own due diligence in ensuring that this is the right person and that we're paying the right benefit to the right participant. So usually delays with changes in date of birth it usually will take a long time because we have to establish that it is the right person. We need to check the participant's record, prepare a note for file for approval. So there's an internal process for change in date of birth. So any discrepancies noted in the data for information from the participant, it has to be reported to their respective HR offices because they cannot go directly to the fund bringing their birth certificate for us to amend their information. It has to be coursed through the HR services. So let me check on the questions. Okay, so Alyaman, will you be able to handle the questions on the chat so I can proceed? Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, so before making a benefit election, participants are advised to run their estimates to ensure that they are aware of their benefit options and estimated entitlement amounts at the time of separation. So before you make an election, it's important for you to run your estimate to have an idea of the various benefit options available to you, because at the end of the day, all of us wants to have the maximum possible financial benefit from the fund. So it is very important that we run our estimates, see what is most beneficial for us and for our dependents. So this one is very important because this usually causes a delay in the processing of benefit in the fund. So once a participant has reached 5 years or more in service and they've reached their early retirement age, we have seen people requesting for withdrawal settlement. And that is fine because they're eligible for it. But it is our obligation in the fund to inform the participant of the various benefit options available to them. So once they have 5 years or more and they've reached their early retirement age, they are entitled to what we call Article 29 early retirement. And it is possible that if they have a spouse, their spouse will be entitled to a surviving spouse's benefit. If they also have children below the age of 21 at the time of NRA, these children will also be entitled 2A benefit. So this is a usual delay on our part because the moment we receive a payment instruction electing a withdrawal settlement and they're eligible for an Article 29, we have to go back to the participant to confirm this. Okay, so this would probably just be a summary of what are the documents or payment instruction that you have to submit, right? So it is important that you submit these payment instructions together with a bank document. This will allow us to pay the benefit to the right bank and provide us guidance in terms of the remittance. So page 2 of PENS E6 would be CS less than 5 years. Page 2 and 3, E7 greater than or equal to 5 years. E8 are for those who have CS less than 5 years but already has a previous retirement benefit. And E2 is a disability benefit. At PF23A is the commencement of the Article 30 benefit. So I will provide you all with this material, so this will provide you a guide with what document they should be submitting at the time of separation. So for election of Article 32, again, Article 32, it's simply providing the participant 36 months to provide their final benefit election. So it's the page 1 of E6 and E7. So staff member, the signature on the payment instruction should be consistent with any existing record in the fund, whether it be the ID document and the A2 form. Difference in signature will automatically cause delays because the fund will stop the processing of a benefit once we see that the signature does not match or is inconsistent. Because as I said, it's our responsibility to establish that we're paying the right benefit to the right person. So in the event that we go back because of a discrepancy, it will be a more tedious process because we will require an authenticated payment instruction from the participant, and the authentication should be either through the notary or a UN official. So for the payment instruction submitted via MSS upload or designated email box, the fund requires a government-issued ID and a bank document as supporting documentation. So here we have the staff member responsibilities. Proof documents to be submitted by the staff member participant who elects a retirement benefit. So for the staff member, it is important that we have your government-issued ID, whether it be the passport, national ID, driver's license. It has to contain your full name, your date of birth, and your signature. For your spouse, it's the same document. For the staff member, we require the certified copies of your marriage certificate or divorce decree, whichever is applicable, to be submitted to the fund. For children below age 21, we require the birth certificates of these children because we need to see the name of the children, the date of birth of the children, and the connection to the main. And so we need to see the names of the parents in those documents. Okay. So staff member participant responsibilities. Requirements for the commencement of Article 30 deferred benefit. So for a deferred benefit, you may elect it at any time as long as you're entitled you have vested already and you haven't reached your normal retirement age. You may elect an Article 30 deferred benefit, and then you may elect for it to commence later on. So for example, I have 5 years, I separated at age 45, but I am certain I want a periodic benefit, so I elect, let's say, an Article 30. And then I've reached my normal retirement age of 62. Now I want it to commence. This is not an automatic commencement of your benefit. So we need to have your PF23A indicating the commencement of your deferred retirement benefit. You have to let us know when you want this benefit to commence. This is not an automatic payment without your payment instruction, because we've received some cases where they're complaining, how come my benefit hasn't commenced? I've already reached my normal retirement age. It will not commence until we receive the payment instruction from the participant as to where will we pay the payment and when they want it to commence. It's the same thing. We need the government issued ID, marriage certificates, or divorce decree, whichever is applicable. So even for a child that is under the Article 29, since they're not yet in payment and they will become in payment once the participant has reached NRA, they have to submit a form called PF23B. All these forms can be downloaded via the website of UNJSPF. So PF23B is to commence a child's benefit. So if you separated under Article 29 and you have children below the age of 21 at NRA, again, the payment of this children's benefit will not be automatic. We need to receive the payment instruction PF23B for this benefit to commence. At the time of your separation, we are already requesting all the birth certificates of your children. So note that if there is any missing birth certificate at the time of separation, even if you submit the PF23B and these documents are not in place, we will not be able to pay this benefit. So submission of original A2 form is recommended. We've tackled this in the previous training sessions that we had, the importance of an A2 form, because we pay out your residual benefit via the A2 form, and in the absence, through the estate. Okay, mandatory documents from beneficiaries. So beneficiaries would be your spouse, your child, your divorced spouse. So we have various types of beneficiaries. We have death in service with eligible dependents. For the spouse, child, and divorced spouse, it's all the E2 form. All the same E2 form. For the spouse, we require, because this is death in service, so for the spouse, we need the mains death certificate. It's a government-issued death certificate. It cannot be through the funeral parlor. So it has to be through it should be a government-issued death certificate, the marriage certificate, the ID document showing the full name, the date of birth, and signature. So for the children below age 21, we need to have the E2 for the payment instruction. We need certified copies of the birth certificate showing the name, date of birth, and the parents' names. And then the government-issued ID, because usually the government-issued ID is requested for anyone who is in receipt of payment. And then we have, however, for people information, we have children below the age of 16 that will be entitled to a benefit. And usually these children are considered minor. So for child below age 16, we usually either pay it through the guardian or through the parent the remaining parent who is alive, or if it is through a guardian, we require the legal guardianship. If paid through the biological parent where the child resides with, we need the ID document showing the full name, the date of birth, and signature must be submitted. For divorced spouse, it's the E2 form. We need a copy of the divorce decree to confirm eligibility in accordance to the criteria of 35 bis. If eligible, all documents enumerated under the spouse should be submitted. Okay, so the next one for your beneficiaries, we have death in service or death after service. So we have the secondary dependent. It's the same, it's the E2 form, and all the documents that are listed here is also required. For death in service without eligible dependents, so we have what we call residual. So there are no dependents entitled to a benefit, but you have money with the fund. You have your contribution and interest with the fund. So we need to pay this out via what we call a residual. So it is an E2 form, and usually we need the original A2 form to be able to pay the designated beneficiaries. In the absence of, we pay the estate. Okay. So next, death after service. So if earlier we talked about death in service, we're now talking about death after service. So you have your spouse, your child below 21, and you have your divorced spouse. It's the same form and the same legal documents. I just enumerated everything here so that you'll have a proper guide once we finish the training. So now, this is just a reminder and an information to everyone. A child's benefit is payable to the person with whom the child resides and who has legal custody and provides for his or her support. However, at the request of the parent or legal guardian or of the child, if he/she is at sufficient age, which is 16 or older, the benefit may be paid into an account in the name of the child. So for children's benefits, for example, it's a death after service or death in service. If the children are of legal age to receive the payment of the benefit, they may fill up their own PENS E2 form, submit it to the fund together with the legal documents, and we can pay it directly to the child. Not through a guardian, not to the other parent, but we can pay it directly to the child. So it's important to note, to remember that all payment instructions must include a bank document. So it has to provide us with a bank document because this will allow us for the proper remittance of the benefits. A bank document containing all the bank details allows the fund to refer to the necessary codes for bank transfers because remittances are very complex because we remit to everywhere in the world in various currencies. It also enables the fund to verify errors, typos, or omissions. And then if you have any additional routing information, attach it to the payment instructions. If there's any question, just raise your hand and I will answer those questions. Those in the chat will be answered by Alyaman so we can manage the time. Okay, so just simply raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, let me proceed. So mandatory documents, actions from the member organization. So we finished discussing the responsibilities of a staff member or participant. Now it's the responsibility of the member organizations. So the member organizations, you must ensure that the staff personal data is in order, whether it be the name, the date of birth, the marital status, the number of dependents, because it has to be as accurate as possible because the fund will refer to all your personal action form in order for us to determine, is this the right person we're paying? Is it the same date of birth? Is the date of birth being consistently reported from at the beginning of entry into the fund all the way to separation? Marital status is very important because the fund, as what Kisa earlier said, we pay or a survivor, a widow, widower is entitled as long as they were reported at the time of separation. So as long as they reported at time separation, any spouse reported after will not be entitled to any secondary benefit. In terms of dependents, you have to ensure that all children are properly listed on the separation PA because again, it's the same for the spouse. We acknowledge the children that are listed on the PA or reported at the time of separation. Any child reported after date of separation will not be acknowledged except when it is a child in utero. A child in utero means that a participant, probably it's the spouse was pregnant at the time of separation. So that is the only child that we acknowledge, a child in utero after the date of separation. Any changes to the participant's personal data must be reported to UNJSPF through employing organization HR services. So you cannot ask the staff to go directly to us. It's the member organization's responsibility to update the personal action form or the respective status report. Okay, so now the local SPCs are responsible for providing support to separating staff. So for the UN family, the fund is the SPC, separating staff to ensure that they are informed of their benefit options and have duly completed and submitted all the required documents, such as payment instruction and applicable supporting documents. Participant files should be reviewed ahead of separation to ensure all data and pension contributions were duly correctly and reported to the fund, because this usually will cause the delay when there is a discrepancy in contributions, when there are discrepancies in records. This will all cause the delay of your processing of benefit because the fund will not take any action until we have all the mandatory documents, until we have ensured that we're paying the right person. If the data discrepancies are noted, it must be addressed and corrected ahead of separation. Don't wait till the person separates to clean up the records, because that will cause a delay or possibly failure to receive any type of benefit that is requested. Well, let's say a child is reported after date of separation. That child might not be acknowledged by the fund because you're reporting at date of separation. Or if it's an administrative error from the member organization, it is possible that we charge the organization what we call actuarial, just to be able to just to fix the administrative error from the member organization. So the next slide, separation PA should issue, this is for the UN family or whichever is applicable. Separation PA should include all relevant information on dependents. I believe for the SPCs, it's via the flow chart or the list of dependents. The separation notification should contain all the relevant information. So when you submit your PF4, you have to indicate all the contributions for the current year or any adjustments to prior years. And then you can indicate the special leave without pay, restoration, or anything on the separation notification that will assist the fund in processing the benefit. Okay, it's important to note for the member organization, your separation date on the separation PA should be the same as the separation date on your PF4. We need to ensure that both documents have the same separation dates. If participant is separating due to disability, so all paid leave must be exhausted. So you cannot issue a PF4 until you have exhausted all the leaves of the participant. So the COB date should be after the exhaustion of all the paid leave. So the separation PA should indicate the total dependency allowance paid at the time of separation, because there are certain calculation of children's benefit that will require us to include the children's allowance at the date of separation in order to pay a higher benefit to your child. So it's important that the total dependency allowance paid be indicated on the separation PA. So paperless option for submitting separation notification via the verified email address. So right now for member organization, I think most of you already have a verified email address that was assigned to the organization. Because of the pandemic, you're now able to send us all the documents via this verified email address, and we consider it as original. So paper form option to submit original separation notification. So we still accept the paper form to submit the original separation notification. So the funds processing time. As I've said earlier, we have the separation notification as mandatory document, the separation PA, the payment instruction, and the proof documents or the legal documents. Once we have this all in place, the fund has a benchmark of 15 days processing time. So we've been hitting over 90% for the past months because we've received all these documents and we're processing it within 15 days. So the moment that any of these documents listed here are missing, so the problem with that is the fund will stop the processing, or the fund will not commence the processing until we've received these benefits, these documents. So I am now inviting Edwin, the Chief of Records Management Quality Control Unit, to discuss the various document transmission and all the new paperless initiatives or by the fund. Edwin?
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Georgina, for the insightful presentation, walking us through the benefits that are being paid by the fund, and also how staff members should ready themselves for separation. I think this is a very, very important important element to the separation of staff member, and I'm happy that we all went through this process. But equally, there's also an important element to the separation process, which is document transmission. And this process is quite important because, as you know, if not done correctly, we could have delays for payments of staff members' benefit. So I'm happy Georgina went through all of the benefit options and what is required for the staff member at separation. So at this point, we're going to start the presentation, but please feel free to ask any questions you have. So before we get into the document, I would like to take us through a short demo of the new feature we have on member self-service. Georgina mentioned it. We have the new MSS upload feature, which I'm going to show now. I wanted to do a live test case so that you can kind of see what is required and what will be needed. So I'm going to log into a test case. So I'm in a test case right now, the member self-service test case, and I know that many of you have accessed this the member self-service module. So I'm going to run through just the MSS document upload. You know that for a participant getting ready to retire, there are a number of modules which maybe we'll just look at briefly. But at this point, I want us to go through a test scenario of how documents can be uploaded, because I know this is a feature that will be used by many participants and obviously by many retirees too. So how do you get to the MSS document upload? You click on the MSS document upload. Obviously, this is the menu. We have this information that has been given to participants, but please, it's important to inform participants to read through this before uploading any documents so that they can kind of understand what they're getting into. So the next thing is, if you wanted to upload a document, you click on send message. Once you click on the send message, it takes you to this module. There are a number of items that are restricted here, which we'll go through. So here you have this page, and obviously it's good to inform participants that they need to print the payment instruction, sign it, scan it, or take a picture, and then have it saved somewhere where they can choose. So I'll probably choose a file. Let's go through. I'll choose a file, and then I've chosen this. So I click on upload. So as you can see, this says the upload has been blocked because the size exceeds the limit of 5 megabytes. So this is this is something you should inform participants to be clear about. We do not accept any document that is greater than 5 megabytes. So just so that when they're uploading and they run into this issue, if for any reason they've not seen this message, they can start thinking there was a problem with the file, or there was a problem with an upload. So it's important that they understand that we do not accept documents more than 5 megabytes. The next, I'm going to choose something else. And this time I'm choosing a Word document, and I click on upload. You see it says upload has been blocked because the file type is not PDF. So again, we do not accept Word documents on member self-service. This is something is very, very important to highlight to the participants, just so that they are also clear. So with no documents greater than 5 megabytes, no Word document. This is very important, right? So I'm going to now go through uploading some upload documents. I'm going to choose. Let's go through. So you can upload more than one document at a time, right? So for example, if they're sending a message, they can upload more than one document at a time, but they cannot upload more than 5, right? For example, we're going to go through this. I'm going to upload. So take, for example, this is a fit document. So if I click on upload, you see I uploaded 5. It tells you a maximum number of attachment allowed is 5. So again, you cannot upload Word, you cannot upload any document greater than 5 megabytes, and then you cannot upload more than 5 documents at a time. So definitely so I uploaded the 5 documents. So I'm gonna try to send it. You see, it says, please enter your message. Also, you cannot upload without sending you need to enter a message in here. This is important to highlight to the participant. But more importantly, it's important for the participant to understand that this is not an avenue where they should be this is not an avenue to ask questions or to send their query. For example, we've had cases where participants would send queries about contributions. No, this is not where to do it. There's an avenue for that. If you go to the funds contact us page, you can see that there. So here is just a short message. For example, I can say, I'm sending my payment instructions forms, right? And support document, for example. So this is just where you can put a short message. So if I click on, for example, send, there's another message which is description is required. Now, as you can see, every attachment has a description label. This is important. Staff members or participant and beneficiary must select this. So the message will not be sent until this is selected. So I'm going to go ahead and select this. This document type gives you a kind of, it tells you, you can select what you uploaded. So for example, I'm taking another ID. I'll probably take birth certificate. This is another ID. Let's see, and then I'll probably put PF7 form. So as you can see, you cannot upload Word, you cannot upload any document greater than 5 megabytes. You cannot upload more than 5 documents at a time, and you need to have a description as well as have a short message here. But again, the message here cannot be a query or cannot be questions. There's an avenue. We'll go through that later time. So I click on send. So once I click on send, it says message was successfully sent. So this is important. This message disappears. So sometimes people get a little frantic. They don't know if the message went through, but it's okay. You can simply tell the participants to always go to the outbox and then to check where they sent the message, right? If you click, you'll see, if you click, you're gonna see the message you sent, right? So you see the message you sent. So just in addition, before we exit this module, I wanted to highlight the fact that participants can also change their email addresses here. And I'll explain why this module is important when we continue moving forward. To change the email address, for example, those who had registered with their professional UN email address and are almost separating from the organization, they can, or have separated, they can come to accounts and then click on update email address, right? They can update and then update it, or they can come here and reset their password or security question. This is very, very important. Having worked on this several times, I see the importance of having this. Another element which is important for separations, which I think Georgina has mentioned, is the proof docs, where participants can come and check if the fund has received the documents. And for example, we received the separation notification. The payment instruction hasn't been received yet. So again, this is an important module for participants, as well as the estimate, about the restoration transfer out. So I wanted to highlight the member self-service document upload. So we're going to move on into the presentation. But before I move on, if there are any questions, I'm not sure if they, I think, Ayaman, I hope you're answering the questions in the chat, right? Yeah. Thank you. So we're going to move to...
I am. I'm asked I must say I'm a bit overwhelmed. So if I forget to answer one question, please remind me,
Okay.
because
Okay.
there are many questions, but I do try to answer everything. Yeah.
Okay, good. We'll go through it, and we'll try to. I have some questions for myself, which I'll probably be asking you as we go through the presentation. The next thing I want us to look at is the document transmission option. This is very critical for a separating staff member. And again, I'm saying this because I've seen many times benefits being held back because the documents were not sent in the correct manner, because the process was not being followed. So it's very critical for you to understand this element. I think the element that Georgina mentioned were very important for separation, but this too is important. And a benefit can be held for weeks because it wasn't sent the correct way. So what are the different document transmission options? The first one is for the organization I'm talking about, is the member orgs. Is the documents have to be sent from a generic email address that was formally provided to the fund, to the fund's generic email address that was formally provided to the member orgs. This is important. Many of you already know the generic email addresses you are using to transmit documents. So the email has to come from that generic email address to the fund's generic email address. So which means that if an email was sent from the generic email address to somebody else in the fund, it's not going to be acceptable. Or if it was uploaded on Contact Us, it's not going to be acceptable for processing of benefit. Definitely the fund will receive the documents. But again, this is to be accepted for processing of the benefit. It has to follow this process. It has to come from the generic email address. Again, I'm stressing this, that was formally provided to the fund, to the fund's generic email address that was formally provided to the member orgs. The next option for the member orgs is the original, right? I mean, prior to COVID, the organizations were sending documents to the pension funds, were mailing the document, the originals. But as you know, COVID has taught us that sometimes even the mail systems can fail. We had a lot of issues of mail suspension, and the good thing is that the fund moved quickly to implement the electronic submissions by the generic email, and has also moved further to implement the MSS upload. So obviously the fund has reached out to the member orgs, telling them to hold on to the originals that they have and to send the documents via the generic email. And that at a certain point, the fund will discuss with the member orgs to see how they can proceed with the originals they're holding. But like I said, currently the member orgs are working more on the generic emails. The next, as far as the participants are concerned, or the beneficiaries, the document transmissions that are relevant is the MSS upload. What I just showed you now about the MSS upload, that's what is very important, and I think many participants and beneficiaries have been using it. But like I highlighted to you guys, those limitations, please inform the participants, even beneficiaries you come across, that they need to understand that. If not, they might think there's a problem. So obviously uploading through member self-service, and this option is great because once you upload through member self-service, you do not need to send an original. And this is, I think, is an added value, especially for those participants who live in faraway countries and have to DHL documents. So this is a great, not only for them, for the entire participant population. The next option is that the email should be sent to the payment instruction email box, right? But this option is a little, it's tricky, and I'll explain why. It can be sent to the payment instruction email, which is here, but that email must be sent from a professional UN email address, or it must be sent from an email that was used to register on member self-service. If it is sent from a personal email that had never been used to register on member self-service, then it's not going to be acceptable. It has to come from either a professional UN email address or from an email that was used to register on member self-service. But the catch here is that, yes, but that payment instruction received in this email, the original has to be sent within 3 months of the benefit being implemented. What does this mean? It means that if the fund was paying a benefit to this person and the person doesn't send the original payment instruction within 3 months of the benefit being implemented, this person could be suspended. So it's important to highlight this, which is why we advise participants to use the upload option, because they do not have to send the original. The third, obviously, is to mail the original to the pension fund, which is something that has been going on prior to COVID, and many people have moved quickly to these other methods. So at this point, I'm going to stop briefly and see if anybody has any questions to ask. Please feel free. So if there are no questions, I have some questions of my own, which I'm going to stop at certain slides quickly to just ask. This is the first question, and please, you can answer through the chat, or you can raise your hand and answer. Will the fund accept a payment instruction form emailed by a staff member from his or her official UN email address to the UNJSPF email address? Can someone answer this? Will the fund accept this payment instructions emailed by staff member from his or her official UN email address to the UNJSPF email address? Would the fund accept it? Yeah, I see. Kerry says yes. Salu, yes, definitely, yes. The fund will accept it if it is from their official email address, right? Which is what we discussed, right? So I grayed out the answer. I'm gonna make it so you can see it. So yes, the fund will accept the payment instruction form from a staff member from his or her UN official email address, and if the form is correctly completed, again, and all the documents have been received, like the separation notification from the organization, the benefit will be processed. The staff member should also remember to attach a copy of valid passport or official government ID that provides your full name. So pretty much the staff member should provide the supporting documents that Georgina highlighted. The next question is, a staff member hasn't registered on member self-service and is separating soon. He or she never sent a form to the fund before. He or she emails their payment instruction form from their personal email address to the UNJSPF email address, to the payment instruction email address. Will the fund accept it? Yes or no, and why? Please. Okay, I see Loria says no, yes. Why? It is the personal email, not allowed, must email, yeah, must be, because not, yes. So yes, it's a personal email that is, but it's what is more important is because the person didn't register on member self-service. So if it's a personal email and the person used that email to register on member self-service, it's acceptable, right? Answer, no, the form will not be acceptable for processing, and the staff members benefit for processing the staff members benefit because the email is not considered official since the staff member hasn't used it to register on the member self-service portal. In such a case, you should advise the staff member to register on member self-service by guiding them on what is needed and how to go about having access to the portal. Once this is done, then the staff member can write to the payment instruction email informing the fund that they have registered and that the email they use is now an official means of communication with the fund. Okay, the third question, a new colleague joins your office. He has taken over transmitting separation documents to the fund. He sends separation documents from his personal email address to the fund's acceptable generic email address used for transmitting separation documents. Is this correct? If not, what would you advise your colleague to avoid any delays? So yes, is this correct? If you think, is it correct? No. Kerry says no, must be UN generic email. Yes, definitely. No, must be UN generic email, and it's true. So if the person is sending it from a personal email, it's not acceptable. It has to be a UN generic email. So that this is not correct, as the email must be sent from the organization's acceptable generic email address, which has been provided to the fund, to the fund's generic email address, which has been provided to the organization. So you can simply advise your colleague that the email must be sent from the generic email to the fund's generic email. If he doesn't have access and will be the one to transmit such documents, he could follow the procedure and request access to the generic email. Yes, definitely. The next question: you are located in a country office and a staff member who is soon separating complains that he or she cannot afford to pay for the DHL fees associated with mailing the original payment instruction form. What would you advise the staff member and why? So you're in a country office and a staff member who is soon separating complains that he cannot afford the DHL fees. What? Use MSS Upload, definitely. I think Vivian says use MS. Kerry says yes, directly, yeah. So this is important. Advise the staff to use the MSS Upload. It's a new feature that and they don't need to send the original, like we said. Yes, you can simply inform the staff member of the new MSS Upload feature implemented by the fund to allow participants to send their UNGSPF forms and supporting documents electronically through the portal. If the participant hasn't yet registered on the member self-service portal, inform him of the 3 items needed to register and help him to navigate through the portal to upload the documents. The fifth and last for this series, a staff member informs you that she had sent her forms to the pension fund through the acceptable channels for processing and hasn't heard anything concerning her benefit. She said she had written again to inquire what is holding her benefit from being paid. She is therefore inclined to use the Contact Us portal to inquire about her benefit. Upon further inquiry, she said the email she used was UNGSPF payment instruction at ungspf.org. What do you think the issue could have been, and what would you advise her to do? What do you think the issue could have been, and what would you advise her to do? She used the unregistered email. No, if this question is if she used the registered email. For example, if she used the registered email and the email she used was registered, the one she used, what would you? So Carlin says PF4 is missing. No, this is a participant. This is a participant, a staff member. This is not the organization. The uploaded did not go through correctly. This is not an upload. This is an email, right? This is an email. Payment is, okay, good. I think Van Roy said payment is spelled incorrectly. Actually, I didn't mean. Let's say it's spelled correctly, right? So okay, I'm just gonna go straight to the answer. The email that is provided is not. It's UNGSPF-payment instruction at UN.org. This email doesn't exist. So her email never got to the fund. And again, I've seen this happen. And why? So this is the correct email, right? Let me do the answer. So the correct email is UNGSPF-payment instruction at UN.org. Sometimes people use this. This doesn't exist. So the reason why she never got any response is because the fund never got the email in the first place. So please just inform participants to be careful when they're sending these emails. The next question is the same, but it has, you see, payment instruction at UN.org. This doesn't exist either. It's UNGSPF-payment instruction at UN.org. This is the correct email. And sometimes people use this, or sometimes people use that, which are incorrect. So we're going to move to the next slide. So because we don't want to run out of time. Now we're going to look at acceptable conditions for orgs to transmit separation documents. This is also very critical because even though the fund has implemented the electronic transmission of document, the fund has advised all member orgs that there are certain conditions that are acceptable, and it is very important and critical that all member orgs follow these conditions. Why? Because not following this could lead to delays. The first is that the email must come from the generic email address of the member org to the fund's generic email address. We've spoken about that. The second is the email must be PDF format. So this is important. Please do not send Word documents, send PDF format documents. This is very important. The next is that the separation document must be sent separately, right? Because we see that if, for example, you have 5 staff members or 5 PF4s and you send it in one email, it's not acceptable. Every email has to contain only documents for one participant. This is very important, and I think many orgs have been following this, but this is just to stress the importance because it could slow down the processing. The next one is that the document should not be combined. This too is very important. For example, if you are sending separation, payment instruction, separation notification, marriage certificate, birth certificate, you do not combine it in one PDF and send it. It's not acceptable. This is very critical. This is so that we do not run into issues. For example, while splitting the document, that could some documents can get missing. So please, it's important that organizations understand that they need to not only send separate PDFs, but they need to label that PDF what it is. For example, if you should save it as payment PF Pen C7, save as marriage certificate. So the document should not be combined, and the subject line should have relevant information. This is also very critical. Many times, if we do not have the information, like we require family name, first name, pension number, index number, and UID if you have. This is why do we say this is critical? It is because as we know, we have a lot of we have many people in our participant and beneficiary community whose names are almost the same. This helps to fasten the process, and it helps to alleviate any issues. So if you do that, it will definitely help to speed up the process and not to avoid any issues or any mistakes in processing the case. Member org should also should retain the original as now. We've spoken about it. The fund has informed the organization to hold on to the originals until that will be discussed with them, because when they send the electronic copies, it will be used to process the case, right? And then when sending revision cases or revision documents, please, you can label it as revision so that the fund knows that these are documents that had been, or these are cases that had been dealt with before. We're going to move to the next this thing, and before we move in, I'm not sure if there are any questions, but we're going to move to acceptable conditions for participants to transmit separation document. As much as we have the conditions for member orgs to submit documents, we also have conditions for participants to submit the document, and these conditions are important too. So the first condition for participants is that the email should be sent to the payment instruction email. Like we've spoken about this. Yes, this is the email, and please inform. This has to be spelled out correctly. If not, the fund might not get it. So definitely the email should be sent to the payment instruction email. Then the email should either be sent from an official UN email address or registered, or an email that was used to register on member self-service. Again, this is what we've spoken about. And you all know about it. And then also the documents, the supporting documents should be attached when sending emails to the payment instruction. The supporting documents should be attached, and these are some of them. I think Georgina highlighted some of them. This is very important, please. So it's important to send these supporting documents to speed up the process. And then the participant must send original within 3 months. So if the participant is using the payment instruction email, the participant has to send the original within 3 months of sending that document. If not, they might risk being suspended. Now, because of this reason, we advise our participants to use the MSS Upload. And I think this is something you should also try to advise participants to come. If they have their payment instruction, it will be better for them to use the MSS Upload. If they use the payment instruction email address, then they will be required to send the original at a later time. I'm not so any questions at this point? I think Aleman is helping to. Yeah. Okay. I have some questions on this about these slides, which I'm going to run through quickly. Okay. Question. A staff member separating soon is quite elated that the fund accepts copies of payment instruction form now. She was informed by a colleague that the fund accepts payment instruction forms via UNJSPF-payment instruction at un.org email address, and is quite happy because sending the original document by mail would have taken longer and would therefore have delayed the processing of her case. What would you advise the staff member and why? Please. What would you advise the staff member? So in this case, she's happy that she can send her documents through payment instruction because she was advised by somebody So Lynn said do the MSS Upload, definitely, right? So it's better, you would tell her, listen, there's even a better option, because if you send it through this email, you'll be required to send the original. So it's gonna cost you money and time. So there's a better option. Use the MSS Upload, and it's easier, right? So yeah, she can use the MSS Upload. Good, thank you for that answer. So the next question: a staff member tells you that he has emailed his payment instruction form E6 to the pension fund. Upon inquiring further, you note that he had not sent the email to the UNJSPF to the payment instruction email address, but had instead sent it to a staff member who works at the fund. Is this correct? If not, what would you advise him to do instead? So is this correct? If not, what would you advise him to do instead? Yeah, so yeah, send through MSS Upload, right? Again, we're coming back to MSS Upload. So please note that if you send an email to somebody you know who works within the fund and think that the document will be used for processing, it's not. So your payment instruction form should follow all these prescribed options. So yes, it will be better to advise. It's not correct. You tell her, listen, the way you did it is not correct. You need to register on member self-service, help her to register, and then send it, right? The third question is, staff member tells you that he has emailed his payment instruction form PEN C7 to the pension fund. Upon inquiring further, you note that he had sent the email to the payment instruction email address, but had instead uploaded he had not sent the email to the payment instruction email address, but had instead uploaded it via the fund's online contact us page. Is this correct? If not, what would you advise him to do? Is this correct? He told you he sent the document to the pension fund. When you ask him further, yes, no, it's not correct, right? Yeah. So yes, no, it's not correct. Definitely, because it's not correct because he sent it through the contact us form on the fund's website. That is not acceptable for processing. The fund will receive the documents, but it will not be used to process his case. So you need to advise the staff to register on member self-service and upload the document. So I think, thank you, Aleman. Aleman is answering questions on the SPCs. That is a little, some of them do not have access. Some of the staff do not have access to the MSS Upload. So we're gonna move to the next slide quickly so we don't run out of time. And now we'll be looking at how to acquire information needed to register on member self-service. This too is very critical. This is important because many staff members have had issues with registering on member self-service, because of one reason or another. So there are three elements for or three pieces of information that is needed to register on member self-service. You have the unique identification number, the last name, and the date of birth. How does a participant acquire a unique identification number? Definitely, if they don't have one, they can write from their UN professional email to the request UID only at unjspf.org. So definitely, if they write to this email, and because they've written from their professional email address, they need to provide the index number, the pension number, and within 1 to 2 business days, they'll get the UID. For beneficiaries, because they do not have access to an active UN email address, they can write from their personal email address to the same request UID only at unjspf.org, but they need to provide a little more information because they are writing from a personal email, the full name, last employing organization, duty station, retirement number, and once they do this, they will get a response within 1 to 2 business days. Or they can talk to their member orgs. I know the SPCs have access to, and their member organizations can provide it to them. The last name, which is used to register on member self-service, is also a critical element for registration. We didn't go through that, but I can almost guarantee you many people who enter last names that are not exactly what has been reported to the fund, the system doesn't allow them to register. So this is a very critical element. This is important for participants. If they are registering and they find it and they have an issue with the name, with the last name, it's gonna tell them. It will tell them your last name is not doesn't match what is in the fund system. Contact your member orgs. They need to reach out to you guys. We also have cases where maybe somebody gets married, the last name changes, then they might be using the changed last name and the fund hasn't received it yet. So this is important that they reach out to the member orgs so that they can transmit the information to the fund. For participants. For beneficiaries, they can reach out to the fund directly through the contact us. Date of birth too is important, and as you know, the date of birth also determines your benefit eligibility. So this is critical element for registering on the member self-service tool. Any questions at this point? Thank you, Aleman, for So I think Ayaman was answering only agencies. Ayaman was answering about the SPCs, and maybe I can just briefly talk about it. The MSS upload is available for all UN family members, but only certain SPCs have opted in, and I think Ayaman is putting it on the chat out there. Not every SPC opted in. So because some those SPCs that haven't opted into this new feature, their staff members will not be able to upload documents or upload the payment instruction on member self-service. At the moment, I think only 5 have opted in. There's WHO, IF, IFAD, IEA, and I think there are a number of SPCs. We can provide that. So the participants cannot, again, cannot upload on member self-service, but all UN families can. So let's run through quickly to the new feature. So how do you get to member self-service? You can just simply go on the fund's online portal. It's gonna tell you can register or log in. So if you've registered already, you can simply log in, or if you've not registered, you register to member self-service, provide all the relevant information, and then log in. Once you're logged in, you'll be provided with all this. Again, like we said, there are a number of elements that are important for member self-service. Let's move to this. The estimate, which is important for separated participants. I think Georgina highlighted it, and this is an important element for participants to use. The document tab. This is where you can find estimates. When you run your estimate, you can see there or pension statements for participants. This is where they can go and see the pension statement annually. And personal information, obviously, this is where you can check if the information you have there is important. Proof documents is, as you could see from the proof documents, it's where you can see the if the fund received the documents, your documents or not. And then also this is important to change email address. This is important, especially for those participants who left the organization but were still had registered with the UN email address. This is an important element. It's good to advise them. They can change the email address. All they have to do is go to accounts and then update email address. It's simple, so that they don't lose out from the communication that the fund sends out for the retiree or beneficiary population. This is very critical. And uploading document, which we went through it. So here, this gives you a little more highlight. So we're gonna look at accessing MSS uploading document and viewing updated documents. So here you log in like we did before. When you log in, so when you log in, it takes you here. Remember, we went through this already. You click send document. This will be provided to you, so you see it's gonna be easy. MSS document upload first, second, read this information, send message. You move on where you'll be uploading the documents. We did this at the beginning. So then here, remember we went through this. You can only attach 5 documents at a time, no more than 5. The maximum size per attachment cannot be more than 5 megabytes. The file type should be PDF or JPEG. A small description, not a query, please. Please do not submit any inquiry. This is very important, and please, it's important to highlight this to the participant. There's attached description to be selected from the drop-down, yes. So if we go through this, you see the description, which we went through this, and then you can label the documents, and then it takes you message sent. You go to outbox to see your message, right? And then yes. So at this point, I have a few questions for this part quickly. Okay. A staff member informs you that she is having difficulties uploading a document on member self-service, and that she has tried several times but is unable to. Upon further inquiry, she tells you that her document is in Word format. What will you advise her and why? It's pretty easy. I think it's straightforward. Let me see the answers. Yeah, it doesn't allow. So Kerry says it doesn't allow Word. So yes, you tell her that it's because it's a Word document. It's not allowed. A staff member tells you that he has 10 documents to upload on member self-service and that he will have to upload those documents 10 times. What will you advise him to make it easy for him? So yes, 5 at a time. So yes, Laura says yes. So you advise the staff, you don't need to upload 10 times. You can simply upload twice. So if you have 10 documents, you upload you upload 5 documents in one shot, and then you upload the 5. So you can simply tell him he can send 2 messages by uploading 5 documents at a time. A staff member who is separating from the organization tells you that he has registered on member self-service with his professional UN email address. What will you advise him and why? What will you change the email address in MSS? Definitely, this staff member is separating. If the staff member keeps that email address, then they might not receive communication from the fund. So yes, change the email address, go to accounts, and then update email address. A staff member tells you that she uploaded her document on the fund's member self-service portal and wasn't sure if she had sent the correct documents. She is worried that she might have uploaded the incorrect document and doesn't know how to verify what documents were sent. What will you advise her? What will you advise her? Yes, so Laureate said check in the outbox. Definitely, you advise her to check in the outbox, because that's where in the outbox you can see the message you send. You can even click on the document, right? A staff member who is separating soon wants to know about his benefit option but hasn't registered on member self-service. What will you tell him to do? What will you tell him to do? So you tell him to register on member self-service and run the estimate, right? So this is just pretty basic. Tell him, okay. So let's move now, just because we're almost running out of time. So in the next 5 minutes, this thing we're gonna look at is signature of documents. The fund only accepts PDF or pictures, a scanned PDF or pictures of an originally ink signed document. The fund doesn't accept Adobe digital signatures and doesn't accept opposed signatures. So again, please note that the person has to have printed the form, signed it by ink, scanned it, or taken a picture and sent it. The fund doesn't accept Adobe digital pictures. So I'm going to show you an example of. So here you see this is a digitally signed. The fund doesn't accept this. This is an oppose, right? So this usually when you come to sign and then you place your initials, the fund does, it has to, the participant should have printed it and signed it by ink. So this is important. So let me ask the last question in this series is, a friend of yours separating from the organization calls you on his phone and informs you that he has just printed and signed his payment instruction form, but tells you that he doesn't have a scanner to scan the form before uploading on the fund's member self-service site. What would you advise him to do instead? What would you advise him to do in this case? Yes. Yes, Frederick, he can take a picture with the phone, definitely. So this is it's a little, I wanted, so yes, he can take a picture with the phone and then, right? So great, thanks. So we are going, I'm just gonna rush through this. We're gonna look at the document retention, right? So the MSS will retain the document on the outbox indefinitely. So every document that has been uploaded will be retained on the outbox. The original documents for all the uploaded documents, the original documents for those will not be required for the forms that have been uploaded online, right? Then the do's and don'ts. I'm going to quickly run through this. It's important for our member orgs to use the BI participation report to anticipate retirement. This is important because you can look at if all the informations are consistent, date of birth, name, and then marital status. This is very important. So use the BI tool. It's important. You can also use it to anticipate retirement, just to see who is retiring soon, and it will help you to start putting stuff together. And also it is, you verify the date of birth, contributions, this, and all the relevant information for participants. This is important that you do that, so that when the staff member is separating, it's not going to be a problem because one or two issues, or because of one or two issues with their files. Tell staff member to prepare their pension document or folder. This is important. Have their marriage certificate, birth certificate. They should prepare everything so that as separation is going to be seamless. Avoid holding separation document indefinitely. This too is important, especially for participants who may be deemed deferred. It's important to send this information to the fund so that all the benefit can be implemented. This is also important because some participants reach out to the fund thinking that the fund has the information. So it's important to have this in place and then send it as quickly as possible. Also, it's important to tell staff members to use their personal emails when registering, especially those who are separating, so that they don't miss out from any communication. Also, tell staff members to use the contact us for queries. This is the funds portal, online portal. That's where they can send questions. They can use this they can use this to contact the fund. That's the best way to do so. So the CE, what is the certificate of entitlement? The certificate of entitlement is a form that is signed by every beneficiary and retiree of the who receives benefit from the fund. They sign it every year and they send it back to the fund. And the fund usually prints over 60,000 certificate of entitlement yearly. Usually we do it in 2 rounds, first and second mailing. So this year the fund printed over close to 80,000 forms, sent it all around the world for the beneficiaries to sign and send back the form. But as you know, COVID taught us one thing: the mail system is not very reliable. We've had issues, and I think the fund has been very forthcoming on this, moving quickly to implement the MSS upload that we have, so that beneficiaries and participants will not wait to mail documents. And now the fund is getting ready to implement the mobile app, which will be great. It's a great initiative, so that beneficiaries can simply log into the app and then verify themselves. This guarantees the identity of retiree. Note that the certificate of entitlement is a proof of life, is to prove that the beneficiary is still alive. So because the fund has had a lot of issues with the back and forth, the mail not being very reliable, the fund has moved quickly to implement the MSS upload, which is also relevant for the beneficiary population. They can upload their CEs online, and is now moving in the next week or so to implement the mobile app, which I think is a big deal. And hopefully we're going to have less and less issues with the mail going forward. So thank you very much. I'm not sure if there are any questions, or if Kisa and Aleman wanted to say something. I think Georgina is going to talk about this, I'm sure, because
we'd like to thank everyone for joining. We've answered hundreds of questions via chat. We will try to create an FAQ that we will attach to the video recording. I'll send an email shortly providing you with a link for the video recording, and at the same time attach the presentation or the materials to assist you. At any time, you know how to reach me and to send me an email. For the next session, this will be conducted by Mr. Johan Hondema, our business analyst. The next session will handle the user access portal and the employer self-service portal. So for those who are using these tools in the member organizations, we encourage you to join, just in case you have clarification on the features of the employer self-service portal. Please feel free to join us on January 27. Again, we advise that those who are from the member organization handling pension and the employer self-service portal, this will be a good session for everyone. So again, if there are no questions, and if you want to send me an email to ask any question, it's at bernardom@un.org. Feel free to send me a chat at any time. Thank you, everyone. Alyaman.